One campaign that I'm truly proud of our team working behind is during the celebration of Canada 150, we wanted to take a different approach and put fans at the heart of that story. What's different, the approach that we took was that we didn't look at Canadian fans celebrating just Canadian music because we know we're proud of that already. We actually reached out to the fans who were in the UK, in the Philippines, in Switzerland, who streamed nonstop Drake, who streamed nonstop Justin Bieber.
Sarah McLachlan.
In
the arms of an angel. Right?
That's right.
You know.
And we put them on a billboard and just wanted to show how big Canadian artists and Canadian music are on a world stage and beloved by people outside of Canada.
Really
so
cool.
the fact that we have this data, the fact that we reach out to the fans and say, you know, we want to build out the story, would you be part of this campaign? That's when we really break through the magic of data storytelling and really making that human connection. Yeah.
So we're sitting on a couple Lazy Boy chairs. They're quite comfortable.
They're very comfortable.
Yeah, and cool, right?
Very cool.
So if I'm Lazy Boy Canada and I want to reach my audience, how does it work on Spotify? Like, what would you do to sell these couches to a Spotify user?
So absolutely. I think the first thing would be is who is your audience? We have an amazing partnerships team and sales team that are based in Toronto, but they have reach across the whole country. I think what we would actually do to approach another partner or brand is, what is your objective? Who are you trying to reach? You know, are you going for an younger audience or the older audience? And what's perfect about Spotify, whether it's from a podcast or a music perspective, is there's a soundtrack for any moment that you think of. So whether it's relaxing in this chair, winding down, there's a song or a soundtrack just waiting to be discovered.
Yeah, that's really cool. And so then you can go to Spotify and be like, hey, we're trying to reach this age group, this education level, maybe, and it depends on what they listen to or what, you know.
Yeah.
So you go for more classical music listeners, maybe they're a higher education level, maybe. You make some assumptions. And then Spotify allows you to do ads to those people.
That's right.
On the non-premium version of Spotify.
That's right.
Okay.
On the free tier. And that's how the free tier is absolutely great because there's different formats to explore in regards to video, audio, reaching that right audience at that specific time and place. I think what's even great is even if you're a small startup business or an entrepreneur on your own working out of your home office, there's Spotify Ad Studio with as little as a small budget. You can monetize yourself and try and put your ad out there. And you could even send in a script and an audio format will be created for you. So absolutely explore Spotify for brands.com is the site. And whether, again, you're small, medium, or a big company, there is an audience to definitely tap into.
Cool. What are you seeing with trends with both Spotify users and marketers using Spotify?
I think in regards to trends, I think it's about being at the edge of culture, but also being very respectful of what's going on. What's really exciting is that we are very much a democratized platform. Is that the correct word? Democratized platform.
Yeah.
English is definitely my second, third language. Democratized platform. And what's really great about it is harnessing that data, but also making sure that we're respecting that data. One of the things that we know our fans always wait for us is that wrapped year-end review. They want to see who's next on that billboard, who is the most streamed. Looking back on Canada, it was a very historic year for us, and we've only come halfway. Whether we're talking about sports or laws or things happening in politics or culture and society, I feel like as a platform, the trends are really by the data we pick and how we decide to choose and tell that story on behalf of the community which we're trying to speak with. So in regards to that, it's going to be very exciting in terms of the music space, but most of all, I'm really most excited about the podcast space, especially with more Canadian content. I really hope and encourage any independent, even what you guys are doing here is incredible, is that we want more Canadian content. And what's amazing about Spotify is that when you upload your Canadian content, you are tapping into a global audience. So whether it's you had something in mind for someone local, it's definitely, I think, global, but act local and act global, because this platform can reach audiences outside of Canada. So we're very excited to grow and to grow on that trend and to really contribute to that story.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So brands that are listening and marketers that are listening, what are some things that they should keep an eye out for with Spotify when it comes to advertising on Spotify or getting their clients involved with Spotify?
I would absolutely, definitely, if you're a brand, speak with your agency reps or try and get in contact with SpotifyForBrands.com. All the right information should absolutely be there. There, like I mentioned, there's a soundtrack or a podcast. There is an audio moment for every brand, for any moment, across any audience you could ever possibly think of. I think that's what's really great is that we promise to obviously respect our audience's data, but to make sure that we tell your brand stories in the best way possible. Having protected the brand and for more than four years now, actually dating back to 2014 when I was even on the agency side. What is really great is that we're partners at the table with you, while we're also gatekeepers to our audience and fans. We will only recommend the best things to really bring that story and the right message to that right audience. For consumer marketing, our brand narrative is really saying, we're pushing discovery. We're pushing the fact that users should lean into the platform to discover more about themselves, more about their musical taste, their podcast taste, but more importantly, more about each other. You know, if you haven't listened to a K-pop band, maybe you should. Maybe you should. If you wanted to start to learn a new language, there are podcasts about people living abroad and trying to do that. So the unlimitless potential of stories and things to tap into on the platform is very exciting.
It's really cool. And yourself, are you a Android or an Apple user?
So I am an iOS user, but very old. I still stick with my SE phone.
Okay.
I do have a Pixel as well for work, but it's only to really test what Spotify looks like on both.
Of course, yeah.
If I had to pick one, I would say I would go back to the 90s and do the Motorola Razr.
Yeah,
you know?
that was amazing.
Yeah.
Remember that? Yes.
Answering a call, that's
yeah.
right.
It felt like it was almost Matrix-y. If you remember the first Matrix when you had the slider phone?
Yeah.
That was cool.
I wish we could bring that back. I hope some tech company is listening out there and going to create a flip phone for us.
Yeah, that would be great.
The one thing I would say, again, that just differentiates our brand from others is that we are very committed to just investing and getting the right content and getting the right product features out there into the market. We're not a brand that's going to develop a cloud system or sell you a phone one day. I think our biggest thing is being as much as available on any devices, whether you're an Android, whether you're an iPhone, as I mentioned before, Xbox or PlayStation. In the US, even when it comes to partnerships, we've been able to garner successful partnerships with both Hulu and Netflix.
That's awesome.
And I think that's something that's really unique for a brand that usually has to sort of be built in within an ecosystem.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
It was actually my Rogers. I have a cell phone with Rogers.
Right.
They offered me Spotify 3 months free, or
That's
it was
great.
a period, and that's what kind of got me hooked. I got like
That's
the free, and then I was like, oh, I'm stuck here. This is amazing because you built all these playlists for me, and how you have my history and my knowledge of music interests.
Well, it's been 5 years since we've been in Canada, which is super exciting, and the growth has just been completely immense, and I think we're only scratching the surface, especially with the fact that podcast is just becoming part of our family now.
Yeah, we watched the data on Anchor telling us as we continue to see our Spotify listeners continue to grow and grow and grow and grow. It's been pretty fun to watch.
And please do check out, in addition to Anchor, which is an amazing tool to, and with Anchor you're able to upload your podcast content to not just Spotify but any other platforms as well.
9 channels right now.
That's
we
right.
just added a 9th yesterday. So it's exciting.
The one thing I would say is that we also do have Spotify for podcasters.
Okay.
So this right now it's in beta, but it is available for any creator. You basically can see, your stream through rate, listen through, your audience, where they are. So for example, one day if you wanted to bring Marketing Jam on the road, you would be able to pick which CDs to
that's
perhaps.
Fascinating.
And this is really funny because, more like a full circle thing. When Spotify first started in Sweden, it was really meant to serve a purpose and bridge the gap between creators to be able to live off their work and fans to be able to enjoy them.
Yeah, of course.
By democratizing this platform and having a free tier where creators still can get paid for their work, and a premium tier where they get additional benefits. Fans would still be able to access both of them, and we had to go through that education with artists and labels, you know. That knowledge is power, and that power allows you to connect closer with your fans all over the world. So now that we've sort of built this awesome system for our artists and the music industry, we want to give those same tools to our podcasters.
Wow. I gotta check that out.
Absolutely.
I didn't even know about that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I went to, when the new Ed Sheeran and Justin Bieber came out, Spotify is where I went that morning to listen to it.
That's right. Yeah. One more plug I would say as a hot tip, life hack for Spotify is spotifyforcodes.com.
Okay.
You're able to get a specific scan code. It's kind of like the reimagined QR code, but only for Spotify. Okay. It creates less friction of getting your customers straight into your playlist or your podcast in opening the camera, scanning the code that is completely unique to you.
Like a Lazy Boy could have a code saying sitting in your chair soundtrack.
That's
7-Eleven could have drinking a Slurpee soundtrack.
That's right.
And they could just scan it and listen to.
It's play a product or play that brand right away.
Wow.
We've always worked with our artists and labels and partners to put those scan codes on movie posters, to put them on your new album releases, to put them on your merch and your swag, because that's unique to Spotify, and you just want to get that fan straight into there, like, save, follow, whatever it is. Again, we're dedicated in making sure that fan and that creator get as much close as a connection as possible with less friction as possible.
I went to an event in a mall put on by World Vision, and what it is, they gave me, it was just back when MP3 players were a big thing. They gave me an MP3 player, and I put in headphones, and I walked through a maze, essentially, and about 5 stops along the maze, I would hear this audio recording explaining about what it was like to be a child soldier, what it was like to live without parents, what it was like to be taken in captivity, to go hungry. And it was all through an audio experience, but it had physical around me. Like, it was one of the most kind of like memorable charity education pieces I'd ever seen. And at the end, you had the chance to like consider sponsoring a child and get involved with World Vision.
That is incredible.
But it was through the power of audio, though.
I think that's what the power of audio really brings. You're really able to take your attention away from a digital screen and be present to really look around. I know our brothers and sisters at the Spotify office in the U.S. have started talking to different museums and exhibitions, especially in Washington, D.C. It's a perfect layer of storytelling that is just waiting for creators to put their own spin on it,
and without worrying about the hardware.
That's right.
Because I think that was one of the concerns with World Vision is like, will they get the hardware back, or will it break, or will it malfunction?
That's right.
And do people want to put in random people's earphones?
Yeah.
But if you have your own earphones, your own phone, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Except for all the pinging of texts.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you gotta do not disturb.
Yeah, do not disturb. Yeah, you put the little moon on, right? If you're on an iOS.
Yeah.
So I know you can't. It's like, who's your favorite child? But like, do you have a favorite podcast right now, or one that you'd recommend?
I have a few.
Okay.
The first one I would definitely start with is one called Call Your Girlfriend.
Okay.
Having lived and grown up in different countries, and just making families in new different places,
including Tawasin,
where we're both from, which is incredible. Small world. Call Your Girlfriend was made by these two girlfriends who just wanted to start a podcast, but also stay in touch.
Cool.
So they would record things, and now they go on tour. Now they speak at conferences. It's pretty incredible what they've done in the years that they have. Another one is one called The Guilty Feminist. My Spotify Australia Spotifam friends recommended me that one, and that Australians are very, very disruptive.
Did you say Spotifriend?
My Spotifam.
Oh, Spotifam. Okay, sorry.
Spotifriends or Spotifam.
Okay, perfect, great. Okay, good to know.
It's our little lingo. The Guilty Feminist is another one. Of course, Marketing Jam. I had to do a lot of research on that once you guys had it on Spotify, and that was really awesome. Great. Just to hear about other brands and other speakers, not just in marketing, but in other departments and lines of businesses from Canada and from abroad, which is great. And that's another thing with, trying to empower podcasters or artists or whoever wants to share any piece of content. Of if you go into Spotify and click the share button, you could straight into Instagram stories.
Which is what we do.
Absolutely.
And it's been amazing.
And it's one again, less friction, one click straight into that app. And
Okay.
our product marketing team, our R&D team have worked tirelessly to make those small features happen because we know what that user journey is like, and we have always the user in mind.
That's awesome. Anything else you want to leave with listeners and viewers?
I just want to say thank you for everyone for streaming and to discover more, to encourage you to discover more playlists, more podcasts. My last little tip is that regardless if you were into drag queens, sports commentary, or a knitting podcast that's called Never Not Knitting,
Okay.
it's probably a top knitting podcast, I assume. Check it out. There's something that is waiting for you to be discovered on our platform, and we thank you so much for all the support that's been happening so far.
Well, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Those of you listening on Spotify, I'm sure you might have even stopped by now and you've gone and checked out what else is out there. Everyone else, thank you for joining us today. It's been a pleasure having you on the show, and we'll see you next time on the Marketing Jam.
Bye.